Alright, so we're getting pretty close to the Rubicon trip, and I want to do a couple of like safety mods to the Jeep. One is I want to mount my fire extinguisher. I bought this fire extinguisher years ago. I had it in my JK strapped to the roll bar in the back with a bar tack mount. I think for the YJ, I'm just going to mount it on the bracket that it comes with. You know, it's got a bunch of holes for mounting options, and it can be operated one-handed. It has 2 points of contact, you know, to hold it in. It's pretty sturdy. So, you know, it meets DOT requirements and stuff. So I don't think it'll be a big deal to use the bracket that it comes with. So I really like this brand, Merex. This fire extinguisher is an ABC, so it can be used on chemical, electrical fires, and all kinds of stuff. Liquids like gasoline, it's rated for all that stuff. It has a metal valve and nozzle assembly. A lot of them, like the cheaper ones, they have the plastic nozzle and valve assembly, and I just don't think that's quite as sturdy if it's going to be bouncing around in a Jeep, especially off-road. So I like that it's made of metal, and this fire extinguisher is made in the USA, so that's why I went with this one. So I think I'm going to mount it in the Jeep on the floor, kind of next to the transfer case shifter. So somewhere right here is what I'm thinking. It fits perfect right here. You know, I could tuck it up here on the center of this tunnel really well, and it's out of the way. It's not getting blown on directly by the vents or anything. It's not in the way of anything. There's a ton of room right here on a YJ. So this this black section that bolts down to the tunnel, it has already got some holes drilled in it, and eventually I want to have a floor shifter for a reverse manual valve body. So this will probably get replaced or cut up at some point anyway, so drilling a couple more holes in it in the meantime really doesn't bother me. Using a 1/4 inch. And I looked up under the Jeep. There's nothing up under this plate. No electrical cables or anything. I got some double-sided tape added on the back of this thing too. A little bit of vibration resistance and a little bit more. Not really going to add anything in terms of securing the extinguisher, but I guess it does add a little bit. Oh yeah, check that out. There's the 2 bolts sticking through. Okay, feels pretty good. It's got a little bit of wiggle to it just because of the mount, but I like that. And then if I need to grab it, comes right out. Now I want to put together like a trail tire service kit. I went and picked up a bottle jack from Harbor Freight. Went with a 12-ton. Seems to be the best balance of size and, you know, capacity and all that sort of stuff. So I have this original scissor jack under the hood of my Jeep still, but because I'm on 35s, it's just not tall enough, and it's kind of sketchy anyway using a scissor jack. So instead of going with a high lift, I've had a high lift on some other Jeeps in the past and ran them for years, and really good tool, and I might add one to this Jeep too, but I think a bottle jack is better for changing a tire. And to go with the bottle jack, I got these. These are bottle jack buddies. You can get them on eBay. They make a smaller one and a big one. The big one fits like, you know, Dana 60s and stuff, and then this fits like a Dana 30. I actually need the big one for the 8.8 because the tubes are so big. This would still work, but it fits better in the big one. So I'm going to put these in like a bag together. I have all these bags, you know, like when you buy a power tool and they give you a bag for them and you never use the bag. So I have all these, and I think one of these might work perfect. This one's kind of tall. Let me try this one. Perfect. There, then I know that the Cobalt bag is the bottle jack and bottle buddies. Okay, slight change of plan. I actually like this a lot better. This is the bag that my Milwaukee ratchet kit came in. And look at that. It even has like Velcro straps to kind of hold everything in place. So I think I'm going to go with this instead. And I can actually slide this under the front seat on the driver's side. That's pretty cool. So if you've never seen a bottle jack, buddy, basically it's just like a cradle that you put on the bottle jack. Put on the bottle jack like that, and then it, you know, the axle sits right here. It's like a saddle, and then when you jack it up, you know, the axle's on it. It's not all weeble wobble, just on this little flat spot. It's actually like, you know, pretty secure in there. Just a little bit safer way to do a inherently sketchy thing. I could put like a ratchet strap or something over this, like one of them really short ratchet straps. Go across that so it doesn't slide out, but I like that. Alright, so if you saw one of my last update videos, you know that I'm having a problem with my steering binding. I was under here doing a bolt check and I actually noticed that there are witness marks on this drag link that match to this bracket I have here for the steering stabilizer. So I think for the purposes of the Rubicon trip, I'm just going to remove the steering stabilizer for now. A solid front axle that's in good shape and maintenance correctly and everything doesn't need a steering stabilizer anyway. So I might just rethink this whole system. I'm not sure yet, but for the wheeling trip, I'm going to remove this. That'll be one less thing of binding. I'm not sure what changed. So I had this same steering and suspension and everything set up when I ran or when I went to Moab and ran, like, you know, Hell's Revenge and stuff, and I didn't have any binding problems with the steering, but I was on 31s. Now that I'm on 35s, I'm having problems with the steering getting bound up in certain spots. I don't know if the tires are putting more leverage on the suspension and making it worse or flex more and contact stuff. I don't know, but something has changed. This will be okay for now. I think I'm going to add an extra, just a little bit to the bump stops as well, just to help this bar not contact the frame, this drag link not contact the frame. I'm not going to have time to notch the frame before the trail, so just going to have to be mindful about it. So I have a bag of hockey pucks, old hockey pucks here that I've had for years. I used to use them for bump stops on my Cherokees whenever I would lift those. I think I might use them on the YJ too. I'm thinking about just drilling a hole in the middle, drilling a hole in the top of the Skyjacker bump stop extensions that are bolted to the axle tube, and just having 1 extra inch that way. They're exactly 1 inch tall. They work perfect for bump stops. A little bit unconventional to use them for a leaf spring setup like this, but I know they work perfect and I already have them, and they're a lot cheaper than like Daystar extended bump stops or something like that. And I can stack them if I need to. So I think I'm going to do that. I'm going to start with 1 inch. See how that works on each side. Alright, I got me a center punch right in the middle of that. Got my hockey puck and my hardware. Alright, there we go. I like it. Looks a little silly, but whatever. Okay, the front end is done. Everything up front is greased. All the bolts are checked. New bump stops are on. Some steering interference problems removed. Wheels are torqued. Engine oil is changed. I added a little bit more transmission fluid. Checked power steering fluid, it's good. I didn't check the brake fluid. She's full. Maybe a little over full. Coolant's full too, nice and green. I'm going to take it down the road, get some more gear oil. I've only got 1 quart of 80/90. I'll grab a few of those and then back it in, change the rear diff fluid, do a bolt check back there. If the rear is anything like the front, all 8 U-bolts will be loose. And then we'll start packing it up. This was leaking. Didn't even notice. Not much, but a little. Holy shit! Oh no. Oh no. Oh, it's everywhere. Oh, that is terrible. Hope I got that on camera. Okay, well that was very exciting. I should have seen that coming, the way that bolt wasn't moving. Well, the gears look good. It's crazy how much mating the gears do during break-in. Like, this whole tooth is shiny now, when before it was just that little bit of pattern. This gear oil looks phenomenal compared to the front. There's like no metal shavings. That looks great. Oh yeah, there's definitely metal shavings in it, but I don't think there's as many as there was in the thing of 30. I just drove this Jeep down the road too, and this isn't even like hot, so that's good. There we go. Definitely some flake in there, but not bad at all. The gear oil is still very clean. It's just got the break-in flakes in it, so all good. No big chunks or anything. Well, my RTV tube ripped and squirted everywhere, but whatever. I got it smeared all over the cover and a little bit on the housing, so I'm gonna go with RTV this time. Maybe it won't leak like that paper gasket did. Alright, I'm gonna let this tack up for half an hour, something like that, then I'll go around, torque all these and fill it up with some oil. Spend the next half hour cleaning up this mess I made down here. Alright, one thing I'm going to do is go doorless. This is a little bit of weight that I can shed, since I'm going to be loading this thing up with a ton of camping gear and spare parts and fluids and stuff. So, not a ton of weight gone, but a little bit of savings. And it'll be super fun to do the Rubicon with no doors. I'm going to throw some mirrors on though, just so I'm left alone in California. Alright, so while that RTV is setting up for the rear diff, I'm going to start packing away some of my tools and stuff that I'm going to use on the trail, or have on the trail. Over here on the floor to the left of the driver's seat, I have a small shovel, a strap, and a snatch block for the winch. They kind of ride there all the time, so I'm going to leave those there. In the center, I've got my CB and my fire extinguisher. In the little glove box, I've got like a multi-tool and, you know, some Jeep paperwork, that sort of stuff. So in the center, in my Tuffy console, I have my winch controller, some toilet paper, 2 shackles, and a bag of tools that I keep in the Jeep all the time. So, you know, I've just got like, there's a utility knife here, all the common sockets, wrenches, you know, that the Jeep uses, screwdrivers, pliers, vice grips, you know, big adjustable. I've got some Colby valves in here, and I'm going to take the Colby valves and I've got a little cheap tire plug kit. I'm going to put both of these in my little jack, you know, tire repair kit that's under the driver's seat. And then like Allen keys, Torx keys, some baling wire, some wire strippers and crimpers, just basic tools that I keep all the time. And then below that, down here, I've got like some emergency survival stuff that the guy I bought the Jeep from gave to me. Like, there's a signal mirror, a fire starter. So, and then like a compass, a whistle, a can opener, some glow sticks, you know, just little common, just, you know, little survival stuff like that he had in here. I'm also gonna add my tire deflator. This one's from ARB. I've had it for years. It's definitely my favorite style. Put that in there. I've got 2 headlamps. One for me, one for my wife when I get to the campsite. And I was going to try to put this first aid kit in here, but I think it'll fit. Let's see. I think that'll be good. Oh yeah. Perfect. And I like this Tuffy box because I can just, even with the doors off and everything, I can lock it up if I drive into town. And nobody's getting in there. At least not easily. Alright, I'm also going to add, I've got this axe here from Estwing. I have a machete too, but I think I'm just going to bring the axe because I can use it as a hammer to hammer tent stakes and stuff in. So I think I'm going to wedge that right here. And then I also have a 400 watt inverter. It's an old Duracell one that I've had for years. Still works perfect. I'm going to wedge it right here. Alright, that's pretty sturdy in there too. I got some bungee cords I can throw over all this too so that it doesn't come out while we're on the trail. But with it wedged right there, I can plug it directly into my little 12 volt adapter that I wired in before our Moab trip. Now I've got 400 watts to charge stuff, run the pump for the air mattress, or whatever else we need. So that'll be good right there. For camp stuff, I've got this one tote right here that I've had again for years. I've got a 2-burner stove, a little kettle, some matches, a lighter, some extra batteries for the lantern right here, and the headlamp. This is a little pop-up, little tiny pop-up chair, a couple of 1-pound propane bottles, some camp soap, and I got some more stuff I'm going to put in here too, like trash bags, paper towels, paper plates, forks, you know, stuff like that. All that'll go in here, and I'm sure my wife will add some stuff too. This is kind of her, this is one of the things that she kind of prepares better than I do. Okay, for spare parts, I'm bringing basically just the basics. I've got some U-joint straps for the front drive shaft on the transfer case side. I've got some U-joint U-bolts for the front drive shaft on the axle side at the pinion. I've got some extra bolts for the flange on the rear axle for the drive shaft. Some extra bolts for the rear axle retaining brackets on the 8.8. I've got some U-joints. These are all 1310s. I have two styles of 1310 on this Jeep. The drive shafts use those little spring clips that go on the outside of the U-joint caps, and then the front axle shafts use the C-clips that go on the inside of the caps. So I've got two of each. I've got an extra wheel hub. This is the one that came on the Jeep, and it's 33 years old. Still works perfect. I've got the stub shaft for the front axle. This is the stock piece too. I'm really not too worried about the axle shafts. If any of them break, I think it's going to be the stub. So I'm bringing the factory replacement one. I've got it taped up here so it's not all rusty. That'll be my backup. I'm not going to bring spare shafts for the rear, and I'm not going to bring a spare long shaft for the front. I'm just going to take that risk. I'm trying to be aware of how much weight I'm adding, because if I don't add a ton of weight, the parts aren't really at that big of a risk for breaking, I don't think. And I've got some extra tie rod ends. One of them is left-hand thread, one of them is right-hand thread. For fluids, I'm bringing just the basics too. I'm going to be bringing a few quarts of 1030 motor oil, a couple of quarts of ATF plus 4, a couple of quarts of gear oil, and if I need extra coolant, I'm just going to put river water in it. I'm not going to bring coolant. These are the only three fluids that my Jeep uses. Gear oil for the diffs, automatic transmission fluid for the transfer case and the transmission, and power steering. And then motor oil for the engine. I might bring some brake fluid too. That's probably not a bad idea. Okay, I'll need to get another thing of this, but I'll bring some brake fluid too. So that's really it. And then for tools, I'm going to supplement the tools that I usually bring with just like, I'll probably bring my junkyard bag. I have a video about what all is in that junkyard bag if you are interested. But I could completely tear apart and rebuild my Jeep with what's in that bag tool-wise. So that should be more than enough. And I don't want to bring everything because it'll weigh way too much and I won't have the space. Alright, U-joints. Okay, there's all my spare parts. I'm also going to pack a set of jumper cables. These are good sized jumper cables. And my portable air compressor so I can air up the tires when we get off the trail and head back to the trailer. All this stuff I'm going to put in the footwells behind the front seats so that the weight is low, and hopefully I don't need any of them except for the air compressor. I also added a high pressure power steering line into the spares bag. I blew a power steering hose one time in my XJ, my green one, and it was spraying power steering fluid right on the exhaust manifold, and everybody thought I was on fire. And I kind of was, but it was fine. But I started losing power steering, and I don't want that to happen on this trail, so got an extra high pressure line. The one that's in the Jeep is maybe 32 years old, so got a new one. It's only $25. There we go. Check that out. Got my fluids in the back pocket on the seats. What's wrong with that? Nice and secure, and they're, it's a soft container, so these won't get like a hole rubbed in them or something. So all my tools and spares and everything are in here now. There's my tool bag, my junkyard tool bag. Air compressor, spare parts, stub shaft below it, jumper cables, gear oil, transmission fluid, motor oil. I gotta put some brake fluid over there still too. But that's it. So that's all my tools and spares, and everything is in the front half of the Jeep. The rear half, I'll have tents, chairs, cooking stuff, cooler, food. Plenty of room left. Pack light. Food, cooking, tent, chair. This is sleeping bag, air mattress. That these need to switch. Oh, look at that. Cooler. And plenty of room for like my bag full of clothes, my wife's bag full of clothes, all that kind of stuff. And then once we get to the trailhead, I'm going to cover this whole back portion with this tarp and put some bungee cords over it. That'll just help keep the dust off all of our camping stuff. But there it is. That's how we're going to roll the Rubicon. Alright, I'm thinking it's been long enough. It's been like 4 hours since I put that cover on. Got some metal on the magnet. No wonder the fluid looked as good as it did. Alright, that's as good as it's going to get for the Rubicon. So I got to finish packing. I'm not going to record that. That's pretty boring, but I'm pretty sure I have everything. Steven will be going with me too, and he's got a lot of room in his TJ, so if we think of something else we need, hopefully we can split the load up so that we're not carrying doubles of everything. So I took it out for a little shakedown test with the bump stops and everything on the front, the steering stabilizer removed off the front, and it is better. The steering still binds. I think it's mainly at this point due to the locker being engaged. It flexed out really good. The drag link is no longer hitting the frame, so I don't actually think I need to notch the frame anyway. That's something I was going to do, but I ran out of time. I was also going to do the steering box brace. Didn't have time to do that. I was going to do steering stops, but the WJ knuckles do not have the little bolt that screws out that you can put washers behind to extend the steering stops. It's just a little cast nub that's not adjustable, so I'll just have to be careful when I'm steering and not hit the leaf springs too bad with the tire. I was also considering doing a new steering box that's ported and a ram, like a budget ram from Redneck Ram or Trail Gear. Didn't get around to that either. Not sure how well it would have worked, since now I know that clamp it was hitting the drag link. The clamp on the tie rod was hitting the drag link, so I'm not sure if that would have been a good idea anyway. But that's it. Next video probably will be this thing on the Rubicon Trail, and hopefully we have no issues. I've got a bunch more work going on with the LJ too. The plan is to build the LJ up to be like a better version of this. So the LJ will be on 35s, but it's going to have selectable lockers and all that kind of stuff. But once I get the LJ done, we'll see what I want to do on this after that. But for right now, I want to run some trails and have some fun with it. So next video, Rubicon Trail, YJ on the Rubicon.